So I had some thoughts that I thought to share. It relates to the quantum mechanics a little bit and the Torah, divine wisdom, and the higher waters of divine wisdom and the lower waters of secular wisdom. And the interaction between the two as it relates to observing objects, to observing the universe, to observing others, and ultimately to observing God. So the premise is, this is adopted, derived, and inspired creatively from the recent teachings of my Rabbi Ginsburg, Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg. And the premise that I'll bring in terms as it relates to science is that the act of observing an object, called the observer effect, affects how we view the age of the object or the particle or the universe. And I didn't do full research to see if there's any precedent for that. I was going to put together an article, but I first wanted to put these thoughts forward in this short video. So there's a fun story that I was organizing over 10 years ago, a lecture by my Rabbi Ginsburg, on the number 137. The number 137 equals to Kabbalah, equals to the word Kabbalah in Hebrew, but it also equals to some people know it's it's called the inverse of the fine structure constant. So this is a very it's also called the coupling constant. It's a very fundamental number, 1 over 137, very fundamental number in physics. So the joke was that at the time, the age of the universe was 13.7 estimated, 13.7 billion years. And by the time, it took some years, but by the time the book was compiled and we started to put together the book, which is now published, it's called 137. So between that, the time that the class was first delivered and the time that it was being edited, it was now, the estimate was closer to 13.8 billion. So the joke was that 100 million years passed between in those 10 years or so. And I was thinking about that as it relates to the topic now, is that time is relative. Time is relative. First of all, it's a God created time. It was an act of creation. It wasn't. It's not like a constant. Like God is constant. Always was, is, and will be. But so time is a creation. It was created, and then the universe and so forth. During the 7 days of creation, the 6 days, and then the seventh day, God rested. So if we're experiencing time as relative to our experience, so then it's not a constant. It's just relative to our experience. So maybe 10 years, indeed, is 100,000 years. Who's to say? So if we view the universe as such, maybe it'll be such. If we view it as another number, or with a different mindset, then maybe it'll take that. And this is a novel thing. This is a very kind of disruptive thought, that the way that we view things, not only we have the observer effect and we have the uncertainty principle, which are two different things, not to be confused with each other, as physicists like to clarify. But the act of observing, and then we have quantum entanglement. These two particles have some type of a spooky action at a distance, as Einstein called it, over vast distances. They seem to have some connection. So we have this at the level of quantum mechanics, as my rabbi explained, is the level of consciousness. It's at the level of thought. Like you have thought experiments. You have Schrodinger's cat. You have. So because it exists in the realm of thought, the cat is alive, the cat is not, So it has some type of mamashas to it, some type of reality, even though it's just a reality at the level of thought. So too, maybe this is maybe our consciousness and our mindset and our perceptions are coloring, or it's an overlay on how we view the universe around us. Specifically now I'm speaking about age. Like there's a recent class where my rabbi said that sometimes we view God as an old man and sometimes we view him as a young man. When do we view him as a young man? When he's fighting our wars for us. And so it's you have these shifts of mindset. There is another story of a rabbi of Lubavitch, of Chabad, Lubavitch, Hasidic rabbi, Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, that he gave a promise to a chassid, to a follower, that this was in Russia, that he will see him again. This is to a young boy, he said this. And at that time, it was not clear that this boy was staying behind in Russia, and the rabbi was fleeing to America. How could it be that he says this? But at that time, he gave the boy much encouragement. He viewed this rabbi as a father figure. His father was in prison, and he needed encouragement. And so the Rabbi Schneerson gave him that encouragement. And indeed, a month before Rabbi Schneerson passed away, he saw this boy who was now a man. And so the way that it's explained is that this boy, I'm sure, had very many difficulties, many hardships. That ages a person. Hardship ages a person. It's heavy. It's a heavy day. But at the same time, he had this memory from his youth, this promise that it keeps a person young, to have hope, to have know that one day he will indeed see his rabbi again. And I was thinking about that, and through all the hardships and difficulties, sometimes we review, we feel old, and things around us look old. But if we keep on to that promise, then we keep on to that fountain of youth, as they call it, the wellspring of the Torah, and we're connected. We keep close to God. We stay young. And like the Torah was given on Mount Sinai over 3,300 years ago, and if we think back and we connect, all our souls, the Jewish people were there, standing around the mountain. If we connect back to that, if we remember the encouraging experiences we've had in life, then maybe we won't view the things around us as so old, and maybe that'll change. And until it actually physically manifests. The point is that the physical observations changed. Whether it's Planck's constant or whatever it is, you had in 2012 and 2013, you had another leap of change of how science viewed the age of the universe, and all of this is extrapolation based on the present. You have carbon-14 dating, and you have the Doppler effect, and you have all of these things that are trying to base on current science. This is how perhaps it was back in time. So it's very much related to our present experience, whether it's our scientific understanding or it's now, as I'm suggesting, psychological and at the level of thought, our conscious understanding of keeping, according to Judaism, according to the Torah, according to our belief. So the age of the universe is 5780. 5780. So how do you explain that? There's various explanations about how do you reconcile with the scientific understanding of the age of the universe. But now I'm saying something different, that to have a Torah consciousness, to be fully aligned with God and with Torah thought, is to will ultimately come down into science, into a scientific understanding. Now we can't understand how that will be, that the scientific world will come up with this number that corresponds to the Jewish calendar. We can't understand how that will happen. But so again, to view this mindset is that it's not that it's only going to be one way of viewing the world, right? Like we view God as an old man or a young man, right? So there's always going to be like this parity between young and old. So I'm not saying that that there's only going to be this one view of viewing it according to the Jewish calendar. But there will be an appreciation of both, right? Now the scientific world doesn't acknowledge the Jewish year, the Jewish calendar count from creation. So there'll be a reconciliation between the two. So these are just some of the thoughts, and I hope to put it together more, God willing, in an article. But if anyone comes with some study related to this, I'd love to see it. So I haven't done research yet. Thank you. Take care. I just want to clarify something, is that in the future, so it'll be that there will be an acknowledgement about that in accordance with the Jewish calendar. But it's our definition, our understanding of what a year means is what's going to be integrated fully in a way that is appreciated even by a scientist. It says of a tzaddik that a tzaddik travels at light speed. So there's something where we know that if you're traveling at light speed by Einstein, time is not passing at all. And yes, you're approaching light speed, so your time slows down so it's so what I'm trying to just to bring out, indeed, if God says this is according to the Torah, according to the calendar, this is the age of the calendar. So that it's not that's in question. It's just it's in question by scientists, right? So right now there's these two approaches, and there seems to be this conflict between the Jewish calendar and 5780 and then the secular. So the more we understand about how the observing universe affects the age of the universe, then the more we'll be able to bring together these two into ultimately that the approach of the scientists should be understood within the landscape of Torah, of a godly understanding. So of the Jewish, according to the Jewish calendar year. So it's not that there's these two. As the expression goes, you can't dance at two weddings, right? So there's only one wedding. It's just the scientists will come and dance at that wedding as well. Thank you.